Hey guys, Iron Mike here with Lively Legs Fly Fishing, and I'm actually out today to do a little something different, and it's to introduce a new hunting product to the market. Now, let me give you a little background. Lots of you know that Benny and Andy and I that run the shop really, our second love is archery hunting. And my parents actually owned an archery shop when I was growing up, so I've been archery hunting since I've been 12 years old. It used to be that you couldn't hunt until you were 12, and I've been fortunate enough to put a lot of time in the woods. With my job, I'm able to do that, and I was fortunate enough to take my 41st buck, which I'm proud to say, with archery equipment this year. So it takes a lot of time and dedication, but that's what I really enjoy doing. So before I introduce the product, I want to give you a little background. So last year, 2023, the big tribe and I always go out and we do what we call a rutcation. We go out to Ohio and we sit and we spend between 4 and 5 days out there. And we do that typically November 2nd to the 5th, or we go like the 5th to the 9th. We went as late as the 9th to the 13th, but in that range. So we're out there last year, and I had killed prior to going on the rutcation. So I still told Andy, hey, I'm just going to go out with you. I'm going to sit and we'll enjoy the time together, maybe shoot a little footage, whatever. So we're in the hunt, and it is day 3, and when we go out there, we sit daylight to dark. So we're sitting out there, and it was good, and he did end up killing last year. Shot a nice 123-inch 8-point or something. But so it was day 3 of the hunt. I believe he killed on day 4. But day 3 of the hunt, we're sitting there, and it's getting towards evening, and we only climb like 7-8 yards away, so we can talk or say, here comes a deer or whatever. So it got to the point I'm just beat. If you ever done all day sits, it's mentally exhausting. So I told Andy, hey, I'm going to get down, go watch the field for the remainder of the evening. And that's what I did. So I get down, there's a field like 400 yards away. It wouldn't affect his hunting. He wouldn't have saw those deer, if I spooked him, whatever. So I climb down, get all my stuff packed up, walk to the edge of the field and sit down. I'm watching the field, and I wasn't there long, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and there was a buck come out the right hand far corner about 100 yards away. And he didn't come out in the field to feed. He was just cruising, and there's a creek bed right behind him. He was just cruising the edge of the creek bed, and I get out the grunt call and grunt at him, and he just looks my way and continues across, and I'm like, So I grunt again, but this time there's a bush right on my right hand side. I'm like thrashing this bush, making noise, try to replicate, that there's another buck up there chasing the deer, and immediately that buck stops. And he looks, and he makes a direct walk for me. I never called again, never did anything, and he comes directly to me about 17 yards and ends up seeing me and running off. And I'm like, man, that was so cool. So a little bit later, there's 2 different deer, and they were not the same buck. 2 different bucks come out, and one's going this way, one's going that way. Now these ones weren't quite as far away. They were about probably 70, I would say 70-ish yards, and the one on the left was, I don't know, within 100. So I do the same thing. I start shaking that bush and grunting at the same time, and both of them, they had to see each other, but they both come walking right to me, and they get like 7 yards away, and I'm like, this is mind-blowing. So the remainder of the night, I sat there. One other buck came out, same exact thing. You hit that brush with the grunting sequence, and it's like they have to know who's chasing their deer around. It was crazy. So that got my mind stirring, of course, like everything else. And I'm like, I have to be able to replicate that noise from up 30 feet up in a tree. So I started thinking. I don't want to carry a giant bag of leaves up and thrash them around. I didn't want to, put a brick or antlers on a rope and, dangle in the leaves. So I came up with all these different ideas, and no, that's not going to work. That's too big, or that's going to be noisy on the walk in, and just just thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. And I never thought about like actually bringing the product to market. I just wanted to do it to improve my own hunting. So I came up with an idea, but I need a sewing machine, and I don't sew. So I went to Michael's. I bought the cheapest sewing machine you could possibly get and started sewing this design. And you know, I came up with an okay design. It's going to get us through. Okay, so let's go to this here. Andy and I go out, and we were out there for 4 days this time. Andy could only do a 4-day. No, it was actually 3. Andy could just do a 3-day hunt. I was out there 1 day prior to him coming out, but again, I had already killed. I shot a nice 130-inch 8-point this year, real heavy bases, and I didn't have the call with me when I shot my deer. It was very early in the season, and I'm not one to like really use a lot of calls. I can't say I don't use them. I use them if I see a deer and know that that deer is not coming in, then I will call. It's very rare that I blind call. But anyhow, let's fast forward to Andy and I's hunt. We get up in the tree the first morning. Now I'm going to describe the hunting situation to you. We're up on a hillside. Okay, it's super thick at the farm, and it's all multiflora rows on our hillside. It goes down to a creek bed that's probably 95 to 103 yards away, I would say, to the creek bed. Then we can see up the creek bed into a little opening, and which is probably 130, 150 yards away. Okay, so we're sitting there first day, and we were talking about this call and how we were excited to you know, give it a shot, and you know, the invention that the creation, I'll call it, that I came up with. So we're sitting there, and that day we called to 4 different bucks on day 1. And we only called a buck. When I say 4 different bucks, we saw, I think, 6 or 7 bucks throughout the day. Now we're sitting 12 hours. But there were 4 that would not have came in, and they were out of range. Okay, so I was only calling to the deer that were out of range. And what's funny is all 4 deer, now there were no shooters the first day, all 4 deer the first day that I called to came directly in to the call, like immediately. No questions asked. Once they heard that grunt and that thrashing, they had to know what's up, and they came directly in. And I have footage of all this, but it wasn't footage with the intention of making a marketable product. So day 1, 4 different bucks came in. And the funny thing is, I'll never forget, there were 2, and they were smaller. I think one was a 6, and one might even been a spike or a 3-point or something. I can't remember quite exactly what it was. But it was funny because out of the 7 bucks that day, I think we saw 7 the first day. Out of the 7 bucks that first day, we had a couple within 30 yards. You know, he could have shot, but they were just too small. And I would let them get out, and I would look over at Andy, and I'd hold up the little call like, hey, I'm going to try this. And he would get out, you know, that goofy grin on his face, like I shouldn't say it in a video, but like a shitty grin on his face. And he knew exactly what I was going to do. So I grunt, and I make the thrashing noise at the same time. And these deer, granted, they just walked past us. They just like within 60 seconds. So I let them get out to like 60 yards, and I call, and I, you know, do the whole sequence, which I'm going to show here in a little bit, and they turn around and they come right back to the tree. It didn't happen once, it happened twice that first day. I let bucks walk directly under us and let them get out, and they turn and they circle back. But my favorite buck of day 1 was, there was a buck down in the creek bottom, which was, you know, probably 80 to that 93 yard mark, and it was a decent 8-point. I call, it comes directly up to us. This is the only one that did this. It comes up to us, gets about 40 yards below us, and it starts thrashing all these trees and making scrapes, which I got great footage of. Now this buck goes out around us and made a big loop, and it got downwind of us and circles right exactly to where it heard that noise come from, which I didn't think was ironic, because a lot of bucks, when you call to them or rattle, they'll head downwind. But this is the only one that 100% circled downwind to try to see what was there. And he comes into like I don't know, 28 yards or something, and it was like a mid-grade shooter, probably 100 mid 120 inch buck, but it faced us and it ended up getting our win. So that pretty much summed up day one. Now day two in the stand, we even had better results. Day two, I called in seven different bucks, and that would not have been in our range without the call. It was like when we went home that night, the night of day one, that's all we talked about was like, I can't believe how there's not a deer that we're going to see within 90 yards that we're not going to call in. It was just unbelievable. So day two, pretty much same thing. We did see a couple shooters, and they were down across the creek and in that opening at like 130 yards. Now, I will tell you, I tried to call at those. I tried to grunt and I tried the sequence, but they didn't respond whatsoever. Now, I want to tell you, they were about 130 yards away. So I'm thinking, from what I found out, the effective range of this call is right out to around that 90-yard mark. On a calm day, and I'm sure a lot of other factors go into that, but I would be confident to say that this will work within the 90-yard range. So day two, I said we called in seven different bucks, got them all on video, and there was actually a time when I was calling to one that we saw and another buck came from a different direction. Now, so we didn't shoot that day, but we had a blast. And again, that's all we talked about that night. So day three, let's fast forward to day three. We're sitting there, and I believe it was one of the first, we might have saw or called one in the morning. But anyhow, right around 9:30, I think it was 9:30, I look up, Andy's facing this way, I'm facing this way. So, we can kind of help each other watch the woods, and I see a buck cruising probably at 90 yards away, and I instantly know, I'm like, holy man, that 100% a shooter. I didn't pick up the binoculars, I didn't get the camera out, I'm trying to get Andy's attention, and which he's a little hard of hearing, but so I'm like, Andy, hey, Andy, I'm like, there's a giant up there. So he gets ready, and I said, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try the call. So I grunt and I start that sequence, and honest to God, that deer sprints. And when I say sprints, it sprints from 90 yards to 40 yards within 3 seconds. Okay, and I'm like fumbling around, get the camera out, and I got it on the deer, and it stopped, and it's just standing there like this. And it's looking at like, where in the world is that other buck that's chasing these deer? So it ends up coming, and it's walking, quartering right to Andy, like 20 yards. And this is one of those things I wish I could take back. I thought it was in a giant opening, so I went like that, stopped it, and he's not shooting. I'm like, what's going on? And in the meantime, when I called to that big buck that come running down, here comes another buck that obviously came in from the blind call, and it's standing there and it's looking up at Andy. And there's this big buck right here, this other buck looking up at Andy, and I'm like, oh God. So I hear his bow go off, and unfortunately he hit that deer in the shoulder. It was stopped behind a tree, and he had a little tiny crease that he could fit it in to get behind the shoulder, but things happen. He hit it in the front shoulder. We had a drone come in. The deer was perfectly fine. It was actually chasing does around that evening, but unfortunately that deer got away, and we'll add that clip too. Unbelievable weekend, and the expectations out of the call were by far more than what I anticipated, and it was just unbelievable. So I said, it's such a good idea, it's so compact, we have to come up with an idea to make this professionally, and that's what we did. Now I'm going to shut off the camera here, and I'm going to give you two of the exact same calling sequences. I want you to envision that you were that deer on November 2nd, you're cruising through a set of woods, and you hear these two situations going on. Which one are you more adept to saying, hey, I'm going to check that out? So I'm going to be off camera, and I'm going to do two of the exact same calling sequences, one with the tool and one with just a regular grunt, and you are that deer. Just imagine You know, they live in the woods, they hear this all the time. See which one you think sounds more realistic of a scenario where there is another buck in your territory harassing the doe. Okay, that was scenario 1. Scenario 2. That's exactly what I was doing, and the results were amazing. Now, I want to explain the call to you in the next the next few minutes. Okay, this is it right here. 0 noise. Okay, it looks exactly like this, and it will adapt to any single grunt call on the market. Okay. Now, take that off. Run another grunt call. I'm going to show you how easy this is. This is what it looks like right here. Okay, that was our old logo from a buck pool that we had years ago. We are going to call it the Lively Legs Flip Out because it flips out of this canister. And it is a grunt. We're calling it a grunt enhancer. Okay, it's not going to call in your deer alone, but it's going to create that idealistic or realistic, I should say, situation where there's somebody else in your woods chasing your deer around. So, and when I say it fits on any grunt call, like I have another one right here. I mean, you just take it, strap it on. Now, this is obviously when it's pulled out, okay, like this, okay, but it all folds up and it's compact like this. So when you're up in the tree, you just flip it out, and it's nice because it has a little pull tab on it. And the pull tab on there, I thought about this, it's on there for a couple different things. I can pull that tab out, you know, and as you're running, you can do walking, or you can do chasing, whatever you want to do. You can cause a bunch of chaos. Now, pack it up, it's completely silent, but if that deer's coming, this, you can just take, hook right there, and it's completely silent. If you want to reach back and give it some more, you could do that. You better not knock it off the hanger in your video. And I just didn't have it hung good. If you actually put it on a larger hanger, you wouldn't knock it off. You know, this stuff's all trial and error. But there, I put it on a bigger hanger, so you could actually make that noise, and then your hand's free. Nothing's going on. Okay, and to put it away, you just simply put it back in the container, and you shut the lid, throw it in your backpack. Not a sound, nothing at all makes this big, bulky, hard to carry around, nothing. It's so user-friendly, it's so effective. Now, I want to explain, because I'm a person who needs to know, like, why is this working? Like why is it so much more effective than just running alone? So I had to dig into that end of it too, and I'll explain that in the next little segment here. And I found out some pretty interesting things, and I want to share that with you. Okay, so let's talk about like exactly why this call is so much more effective than just your regular grunt. Now, in the past, when I've grunted deer, I would say, prior to the rut, I would say 10%. 1 out of every 10 deer I would get a response from. Maybe that November 2nd to 9th window, 20% at best. You know, this is from my past experiences. If you've had different experiences, let us know. But I'm telling you, we were like well, day 4 of the hunt in Ohio this year, and I didn't add this. I did call to 2 bucks that were hot on doe. Now, when I say hot on doe, they were full out chasing them through the woods, and I tried it. Now, they did not come in, but out of the several days in Ohio, I know at least 17 bucks that we would not have had came into this call. Okay, just absolutely mind-blowing number. So I had to know why is this working so much better. So me being me, I like to know things like what's the reason, like why does this fly work better than that one, or why does this one sink better than that one, or why is this tippet better than that one. So I dug into it and I reached out to people who deal with animals a lot more than I do, like the neurological part, and you know how the animal's brain functions, animal behaviors, and I found some really interesting things. And I want to basically sum up to you what they shared, you know, with me, in so I can give you my findings. So to sum this up, you're actually stimulating multiple things in their brain at the same time. And the best analogy that one of them gave to me was, like, if your pet dog is walking across the house and you yell "hey" to that dog, sure, it's going to stop. Now, if you put that "hey" and stop it with a "come here" to your dog, it's going to come running to you. So you're delivering multiple stimuli, and you're actually sparking the part of the brain called the amygdala. And the amygdala is responsible for aggression, it's responsible for curiosity, investigation, and that's exactly what you're doing to those deer, okay? You are triggering their brain in a response, you're making them curious, you're setting that aggression by setting up this scenario. 1, they know there's a buck there. 2, who in the world is chasing our doe around? Because prior to this, I am telling you, I just haven't had an effective tool with the Grunt. So in my opinion, if you're out and you don't have this call to potentially shoot or call in the buck of a lifetime, it's just mind-blowing. It's not a bank breaker call. It's relatively cheap. It takes up absolutely zero room in your pack. It's noise free. It's so convenient, and it's helping a U.S. company out, and that's not even the major part of it. The major part of it is you need this tool if you are a serious archery hunter, especially if you hunt that window from Halloween till November 11th. And to tell you a little bit how the product's made, it's all in-house. My mom is a heck of a lot better sewer than I am, so she's sewing. My dad puts together. I'm building the bands that go around them, and we're assembling them, and everything's done right here right around our shop, which is in Ford City, Pennsylvania. So we are going through the whole process of getting the patent on the product, and so we should be good to go, and hopefully bring this out around the little after the new year. And so if you're interested, want to check more out, want to pick up the product, or for somebody you know, visit us at livelylegs.com and you will see it on our online store. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. I can't wait to hear stories from other hunters, and because I know 100% deep down inside that this is going to change how you hunt, or your success of getting deer that are out of range into range. So best of luck, and I can't wait to hear from you, and thank you for all the support with the fly fishing business. And as well as if you pick up one of these Grunt enhancers, I know it won't be a mistake to add to your hunting arsenal. Best of luck in the outdoors.